Hey, how's it going? It's Demortis again. I'm making a video based on a comment that I had gotten about high sec and wardecking, and I thought that I'd go through it as best as I can and explain as much as I can. It's quite complicated, but it is the way it is. And here, let's take a look at this guy's comment here. He's got, can you make a video about high-sec industry and how Wardecs affect them and how indie guys can combat them? Maybe share a few personal experiences with Wardecs. Okay, so I'm not going to go into previous wars. The reason being is some wars are cool and some wars are not. And if I start naming names, then the next thing I know, I'm going to be decked for the next, 3 years. So why do that to myself, right? Obviously, that's something I don't want to do. But I will do the best I can. So, with Wardecks, there's a few different types of Wardecks. There's small corporations that just Wardec, and their idea is to camp a system like a trade hub and sit there every day, all day, and all they do is Wardec, so that you can't use that trade hub, or if you try to leave with materials for manufacturing, they pop you, that kind of thing. There's an actual Wardec. Someone that's in your system doesn't like you for some reason, and or wants to control the system better or whatever, and they decide to Wardec you. Now those people, they're about the same as the other guys. They will sit there and they will camp you, and they will, jump into your space and just live there. Well, the reason why they're there is probably because of a couple things. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. Then there's mercenaries. Mercenaries are bot players. So they have a fee. You pay the fee. They show up. They Wardec whoever you don't like, and they, follow them around space and whatever. Then there's basically, it's like, they're called grievers. They're not really the trade hub guys. They're not really their own corporation trying to, figure out their own way of playing PvP. And they're not mercenaries. They're just people that go and live in one region, let's say, and they just go around that region, and they just pop everything they can in low sec. Then they go around in high sec and they Wardec all the industrial corps, and they just stay in the bubble of a region, and as long as everything's red, they're happy, so they can continue getting their kill. They're all dangerous, right? They're all doing something that you're not doing. And, it's in high sec, so the mercs, the little corps, the trade hub guys, and then the grievers, they're all, in high sec all the time. So there's a few ways you can combat this. As an industrialist, you can turn around and, let's go to the map here. This is going to be way easier. Let's say I'm in the Citadel, right? And somewhere in here there's a trade hub, wherever the heck it is. I'm not thinking straight right now. It's probably around here. Anyway, let's say you're in here and you get Wardec'd, and you know that they're in here, and let's say they're your neighbor, right? What I like to do as preference is, if I can't fight them off, or they ended up being too big of a corporation or whatever for me to handle, or a trade hub. Trade hubs are the worst because usually those are big entities of people sitting at the trade hub. You are now locked out of this area, and you got to accept it, and just accept it, accept it, accept it anyway, and move on to, let's say, the Devoid. So if I go here, or somewhere, let's pick a nice green spot somewhere, there. Okay, how about I'm in here, and I will always make sure, as an industrialist, whatever I have over here which is my home base system, I will have over here. So when I land here, it's not like, oh, this is the first time I've ever been here. You got to pre-plan as an industrialist to be, kind of pushed out of your space. Not saying it's a complete push out because you're in high sec. This example is just all based on high sec. So if I'm in the Citadel and I've got my home system and I've got all my blueprints there, I've made sure that I've researched all my blueprints, I've made copies of my blueprints, I've carried those copies along high sec in a cloak ship and replanted myself somewhere so that if I get a Wardec, I can move 40 jumps away, and that in itself usually stops PvPers. Now, I'm talking about the corporation next door that came to take your shit or push you out because they don't like that you're taking all the ore or whatever. The trade hub, Wardecs, those guys, because they're Wardecking on a trade hub, they get mass enemies so fast, like the corporation they're in or the alliance they're in, that they can't really go, let's say, from the Citadel to like Derelict or Himitar or Metropolis and go and do those trade hubs, because if they go there, everybody there that's already doing the trade hub stuff, it starts a war or a fight, and then it's on for days, which is good because now they're not focused on killing the people coming out of the trade hub. They're focused on the 30 to 80 to 200 guys that are like, this is my trade hub. So usually you don't find a lot of interference. Like, I guess these groups I can kind of name a little bit because they're not really whatever, but like the Marmite, the what's the one for it's constantly changing, but Marmite was the last one that I had. There's another one, Pirate, or was my brain's kind of drawing a blank. It's like 6 a.m. here, so whatever. They sit at the trade ups. So if you've moved 40 jumps away, that's not going to be a bad thing. The only people that might still follow you are mercs, because they've been purchased to follow your corporation, and then usually a part of the corporation is like the CEO, the CFO, industrial managers, like people that are running all the boosters, shit like that. They'll get individually targeted. But then that comes to, you're in high sec. You've moved the 40 jumps away, but they've still followed you. Well, there's two things in the game that kind of help PvPers be able to track people down. There's agents. So the agents, you pay a fee. You can only use it every so many hours or days, depending on what levels you're at with that agent, and it'll ping you in the game. So that even though I've moved the 40 away, I paid the agent, and now the agent says, well, the last place he was at was Jazar Salad, whatever it is, Jar Salad. I don't know how to anyway. So now they know where you are, but like the smaller corp, the trade hub outs, they're like, well, man, I'm not jumping 60 freaking jumps away just to go chase this guy down. He's left. Well, the Wardec lasts 7 days. So at the end of the 7th day, if they don't renew, right, it drops, you go home. Done. Right? Like, there's not a big deal. If you're smart about it, and you have the blueprint copies, and let's say you're making procures, you will have also brought something like, let's say, Brutics, or Abandons, or Blackbirds, or Caracals, or something, right? You will convert your ore to materials to ships, then you can sell those ships at the closest trade hub and get the hell out of there. You take a piece of paper, you write down the blueprints you've used while you've been away, and so when you're at home, you can replace those blueprints with more copies. It's not really a good system, but it's better than nothing. So because you work per hour as an industrialist, and you're making ISK. You're generating in-game currency, but it's whatever. I'm not going to get into that. What I'm trying to say is, you post one in the Citadel, the Himitar, the Derelict, let's say Domain, let's say Evershore and Singla, whatever, or Essence, or wherever that is where you feel comfortable, and you found a good spot. That's kind of maybe a dead-end dogleg system, or an island of high sec, like cluster around low sec or something, where you feel that you can get in and out. It's gonna be quiet, and you can just like chill out, right? The other part of how they find out where you are, I'll go and open up my browser now, is this. This is my alt. So this is from a year ago. This is Killboard, Z Killboards, right? You go in here, you punch somebody's name in, click, you get their stats, like, who they are, where they belong to, what their alliance is, what their, whatever, and whatever, right? It also gives you, how many times they've died, and how many times they've killed something, and then their kill averages, and if they're snuggly or dangerous. Obviously this guy is just an industrialist, so he's going to be very snuggly. And it says, on the 15th, he was in the Citadel. On the 11th, he was in Molden Heath. On the 6th, he was in Molden Heath. So from the 6th to, let's say, the 14th, he was in Molden Heath, right? He might have jumped around systems, but that's generally where he's at. Oh, he's out in Aether's Reach. He's out in Ulsec. Okay, well, maybe I won't go and hunt him there. He might have some friends, but, hey, oh shit, he's going back through Molden Heath and Tristan. So, okay, well, oh no, he's getting popped by, he is definitely an industrialist. He is just in a mining ship all the time, or a pod, it looks like. Okay, and, oh yeah, he drove a thingy, and yeah, got popped way out somewhere in Aether's Reach. Metropolis, obviously, Wildlands, okay, so he's out there, right? And I went to my old alliance, obviously, so I've got people that don't really exist anymore. Well, yeah, okay, some of them exist, but whatever. And it shows exactly where the people are at all times, and it's current. So I've gone back a year just so that you don't see my today's date, but you can generally find out as a PvPer where your industrial Wardec has gone based on the kill boards, because even now they're doing NPC. So if NPC kills you out and all, it shows up here. Yeah, I don't think it shows up on this one because this one's a year old and they didn't do that. Oh, yeah, it does right there. They've updated it. So this NPC killed this Huron, and it shows you where he was. He was right here, L4X, right? So, no matter what, you're going to get guys that are constantly after you. That the game is more focused on the PvP relationship of other players than it does the industrial side, which creates the ships and fits and ammo and everything for everybody to be shooting everybody. My personal belief over the time that I've played, and what I originally thought was going to happen is when I joined the game, there was just as much knowledge in between players as any newbie, because it was so new. So nobody had figured it out. No one had actually lived it. No one had actually tried to do anything. It was pretty new when I started. So what I expected was, if I'm in high sec and my security status is in the positive, not negative, in the positive, I can go anywhere in Empire space and anywhere in nullsec. And based on my skills getting better and better and better with whatever factions, I would then be able to, protect myself better, do more, have more Concord, all that kind of stuff, this empire idea. And when I went into negative effect, like let's say -1, let's say I got down to -1, right? I killed a couple of guys. The Concord would kick me out of all of high sec, and I'd be stuck in between low sec and some of the yellow high sec. But as soon as I tried to enter the green or the blue, because I'm a negative standing, it would boot me. Like, Concord police would be all over me, right? Then I thought, okay, if I get down to -3 or -4, maybe even near 5, now I wouldn't even be able to get into the yellow low sec. I would only be allowed in, like, the actual negative low sec, amp, null, and wormholes. Because I thought your negative standing was the aggravation of Concord. So I didn't realize that if you're sitting in a trade hub and there's all those NPC outs all in the hub, they're trading or whatever, they're also PvPers, gankers, PvP corps. They want to know intel, right? And then based on their intel, they can make a Wardec decision. There are some guys that just put money in just to Wardec, like a whole region. You've got, other groups that have banded together very loosely as mercenaries, and as soon as there's a payday, and they can pay all their other buddies a payday, they will bring the pain. Like, they will bring, a few hundred people in. Okay. Let's say you get a good mercenary group, because there's a lot of bad ones, but let's say you get a good one. They'll come in with 80 or 100 guys, and they'll camp out all the systems around that you need to control or want the guys booted out. What you got to watch for is mercenaries themselves. Not all mercenaries, because I don't want to get this wrong, but let's say a large portion of mercenary groups that haven't actually dedicated themselves to be mercenaries will either take your ISK and not do anything. Take your ISK and only show up with like one scout ship. Come in, do a lot of talk, bring in, let's say, 2 or 3 guys, and be miserable at their mercenary. Or, like I said originally, you get some mercenary corps that they're like a coalition that you only talk to one guy, and he's got a high price. And when you pay your down on that high price, they show up like right now, and they're ready, and they're jump raiding in all kinds of stuff you don't like, right? Then you pay them the rest of their contract out. They're there for the other, let's say, 5 days, and because the Wardec is usually 7 days, they will do things like use you as meat. So you get in a ship, you're fitted, you go into like as an industrialist, I've done this a lot, like a procure. You get in a tackle fit procure. That means that if a Wardec comes in a system and he sees you with a belt, he'll come to you and he locks onto you. Well, in reverse, you lock onto him so he can't get away. Based on that, your mercenary group then undocks from wherever they're docked at, or uncloak from 10 kilometers away because they've been just sitting there waiting, whatever it is, and they take out your Wardec. Me, myself, I'm all about the ISK. I'm all about each dollar. So, if I'm in the Citadel, and I go to the domain, and they follow me there, and I go to Derelict, and they follow me there, I get mercenaries. And there's like 2 groups that I've always gone to. There's, at a certain point, you have to go, okay, look at, if I'm making 200 million a day or 300 million a day, I should be able to pay for mercenaries. If you're not at that point and you can't pay for mercenaries, you have to keep moving. It's like a day at the Citadel, a day at the Domain, day at Derelict, day at Himitar, day at Devoid, day at Essence, day at Evershore, Singlease, and then boom, your 7 days are up. You're done. You can go back home. it sounds like a pain in the ass, but this is what I'm saying is, let's say you're in the Citadel and you don't move. They camp you for 7 days. They redo the war deck.